Hi, everybody. I'm here with Craig Pasta Jardula from the Convo Couch, and we're talking about Ukraine. Ukraine just kicked CNN out of the country. Why? Because they showed a Nazi salute. You want to see it? Here it is.
Earlier this week, residents there have been celebrating their long-awaited freedom, many taking to the streets, waving flags and cheering for the soldiers.
Oh, that's too bad, huh?
Earlier this week.
So Kherson, so they're saying Ukraine had a huge victory in Kherson in Ukraine, and so they're showing the soldier.
Residents there have been celebrating.
Look, they're celebrating. So there's the residents celebrating with the Ukraine
their
flag.
Long-awaited freedom,
and
many
then
taking to the streets,
out of nowhere,
waving flags.
He decides to hail a cab. Out of nowhere. He's already on a truck, but he's trying to get a cab. That's what I think that is.
Stretching his arm. He had a...
Yeah. So here, CNN and Sky News journalists are stripped of their accreditation for reporting from Kherson. Quote, media representatives without the consent of the relevant commanders and public relations services of military units carried out information activity. So they just banned them because they showed that. Because they showed that. That's what happened. I'm glad these monsters were brought to justice. I mean, not the Nazis, the journalists who accidentally exposed the Nazis. And by the way, this keeps going on. This keeps happening over and over. Here's Zelensky, and then here's a guy with a Nazi symbol right behind him. Oh no, Zelensky, look out. There's a Nazi behind you. He might steal your Sean Penn Oscar. And here's Jon Stewart giving an award, a medal, to a Nazi from Ukraine. There's a Nazi tattoo underneath his elbow. That's why it's covered up. See, that's how you report on Ukrainian war heroes. You cover up all their Nazi shit until even Jon Stewart falls for it like an utter dipshit. That's what you do. And this got nothing to do with nothing. But you guys are at an award ceremony. Do you think maybe you wear nicer clothes? Are you guys going to go play softball right afterwards immediately? Or are you guys going to wash your car afterwards? I get that Jon Stewart's worth $100 billion, so he wears shitty t-shirts and shitty jeans and baseball hats all day to make people think he's regular. That's what that is. Why did you want to become rich in the first place if you're going to dress like a fucking... I dressed when I was a comedian and I didn't have any work. Because that's what that looks like. It's a stupid thing that bothers me. Now here's the kids. You want to see it happen again? So now they're going to give a salute to the soldiers, but then watch how it ends. Watch how the salute ends.
À chaque passage de véhicule militaire.
Oh!
Chaque passage de véhicule militaire. Chaque passage de véhicule militaire.
Hey, look, those Ukrainian kids need a cab. That's all that is. So, what do you make of that, Craig? That they kicked Sky News and CNN. They finally kicked them out for reporting on the Nazi salutes.
Yeah, well, from what I understand, and we were talking about this earlier today, is that Zelensky wanted them to wait before they went in because I think they caught a lot of people being once again kind of taped up to poles and that sort of thing. So I guess he wanted them to wait for them to get their racist tendencies out of torture and, you know.
So you're saying what you're saying is that Zelensky wanted the press to wait before they went in. So he didn't want the press to go into Kherson, which the Ukraine just took over from Russia. He didn't want them to go in because he didn't want to see all the horrible Nazi stuff that the Ukraine soldiers are doing to the people. And what is the crazy Nazi stuff? Well, here, even the New York Times says, as Russia retreats in Ukraine, a question lingers. Who collaborated? So they go around and they just start torturing people. So that's what the Nazis, the Ukraine army does, is they start finding other Ukrainians. And that's why, remember in, what did Scott Ritter get kicked off of YouTube for? Because he said that there was where did they kill those?
Bucha?
So the Bucha. So they said that Russia had killed all these people in Bucha and left them to die in the street. And then, of course, there was a lot of inconsistencies to that. And then the theory was that the Ukrainians did that themselves to those people for being collaborators and left them in the streets. And now it looks like that's probably more likely. And so that's what they do. So they go around and they start killing people who they think collaborated. But first they torture the shit out of them. They tape them to poles, and they'll and women, they'll make them perform. They'll rape them and perform sex acts, and then tape them to a pole and stuff like that. It's horrible. So, by the way, they did it. They kicked the Russians out of Kherson with the help of Nazis. We did it. Yeah. By the way, here's even Israel supports these Nazis. Rights groups demand Israel stop arming neo-Nazis in Ukraine. That's from July of 2018.
Yeah. It's been going on for a while.
So this isn't new. Hey, don't you know it's anti-Semitic to demand Israel stop arming literal Nazis? Boy, I wonder what... It's funny how upset people are at Kanye West for the stuff he said about the Jews. Wait till they find out he's been shipping arms to Nazis in Ukraine. By the way, this is from Yahoo News. Just so you know the kind of Nazis they are in Ukraine. Peace Corps positions in Ukraine are currently not open. Why? Because Black Peace Corps volunteers who applied were warned to be prepared to be called the N-word and face other racist behavior while in Ukraine. Mm-hmm. According to guidance on the Peace Corps website. And also, U.S. voted against anti-Nazi resolution. So the UN had an anti-Nazi resolution condemning Nazis worldwide. 2 countries voted against it. Which countries do you think they were? The United States and Ukraine. There it is. U.S. and Ukraine vote against anti-Nazi resolution. That's amazing, kind of.
Yeah.
C-14 is a group of Nazis, and they were started as the youth wing of the Svoboda Party, founded by Oleg, a big Nazi, pictured here with Biden in April 2014. Big Nazi, started C-14. C-14 signed an agreement with Kiev city government to patrol its streets in early 2018. Months later, it began a campaign of pogroms. You know what that is? So they went after Jews, right? That's what that is? They wanted a violent kind of... go ahead.
This one, they went after Romanian camps. I believe Alex Rubinstein, who broke that Nazi story with Jon Stewart, also showed these particular C-14 members going into, destroy these little villages of Romanian camps that they had there. They were like homeless people, and these C-14 members would just go in there and destroy it. It was quite sad, to be honest with you, to see that happen. Ukrainian fighting tactics endanger civilians because they're committing war crimes, and that's from Amnesty International says that about Ukraine. Yeah.
What are they doing? They're putting missiles in schools. They're putting missiles in hospitals. You're not supposed to do that because then it makes those places targets. But that's what they want. They want Russia to target a school or a hospital so then they can say Russia's bombing schools and hospitals. That's so they can win the propaganda war. And if you're not sure if there's a little or a lot of Nazis in Ukraine, here's from a soccer game. You want to see from a soccer game? That's a lot of guys looking for a cab. That's all I can say. It's a lot of guys looking for a cab.
They're saying Slava Ukraine, which is the Nazi salute. That's the thing that Nancy Pelosi said, Slava Ukraine, in the Congress that one time. So it's,
hey, look, half a Ukrainian stadium is giving a Sig Heil. I mean, freedom waving. Isn't resolving not to glorify Nazis also a form of extremism, right? I mean, what if we need them to fight a proxy war over natural gas? I mean, grow up. Anyway, so there you go. There you have it. More Nazi stuff happening. We're literally canceling Kanye West as we're funding Nazis in Ukraine. So is Israel. But they're canceling Kanye at the same time. So there's always hilarious ironies like that happening. Anything you'd like to say to close up the segment, Craig?
Yeah, Jimmy, I just think it's important to point out right now, because this is something I was thinking about today. You mentioned the whole natural gas situation. I think the big oil had a lot to do with what was going on in Ukraine, obviously the Nord Stream 2 pipelines, but a lot has to do too with what Julian Assange says, as far as, that endless money going. I used to say a quote, it's like they don't care who wins the war, they don't care who loses the war. All they care is that there is a war. And no matter what, at the end of the day, the goal of the American empire was to make sure that this was another Afghan, Vietnam style situation on their border. So with all this talk hearing from the Pentagon, possibly looking for a peace deal or whatever's going on, I don't think it's ever in the cards, because the objective was to make sure that there was a war there, and that they would shift the Europeans' energy dependence and dependencies away from Russia. Excuse me. So at the end of the day, I think the empire got what they want, and that's something that we have to realize, is that this is what they wanted. They don't want peace, and I don't think there ever will be peace. And I just fear that there's going to be some type of catastrophic event that's really going to ever get us close to ending this conflict over there, and that's just something that we have to understand. And seeing the whole FTX situation again, it's a big giant scam. It's a big Ponzi scam. It's about dollars and cents, and the United States empire doesn't give a damn who dies for them to make that money.
Well said. We'll see you November 19th and 20th in Austin, Texas. November 26th, that's the Saturday after Thanksgiving, in Burbank. And then all December, we're going to be in Los Angeles doing Friday night shows. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all the tickets and become a premium member. While you're there, you get all of our videos unedited. jimmydore.com, not Jimmy Dore Comedy.